So, tourism says wild and wonderful West Virginia. It is wild, wonderful, and weird West Virginia, for sure. I consider myself a parahistorian because I love delving into the history of haunted locations and finding out where a location or why a location might be haunted. And I know those of you that are paranormal investigators, that should be your focus, is finding out the history of a location before you go and you explore it. I am also a dowser. I love using dowsing rods, and I have trained thousands of people, instructed thousands of people on my tours and in my ghost hunting classes on how to use dowsing rods and pendulums. And I think I actually did a workshop on that a few years ago. Oh, this is going to be one of those where everything's possessed and moves on its own. Isn't that great when you're doing a paranormal conference? I can blame whatever really bad happens on a ghost. Say, for instance, we're on a bus going to haunted Gettysburg, and it storms, and the bus begins leaking water into us as we're sitting. I can just blame it on a ghost. It was that pesky poltergeist we picked up at that last stop. As an author, nowhere near Troy and the amount of books I've had out, but I've really been blessed to be able to put out books on haunted locations that I love and that I have explored in all my years of investigating. I have booked the Ohio State Reformatory probably 30 or 40 times out on my own for overnight ghost hunts. If you've seen the Shawshank Redemption movie, you all know the Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield. How many people have gone to OSR and done it? Isn't that an amazing building? It really is. And also next to it, the book in yellow is The Ghost Hunter's Guide to the West Virginia Penitentiary in Moundsville, West Virginia. How many people have stayed there or explored? Anybody at all? Okay, just a few. Did you know that Charles Manson's mother was an inmate there? That's your Jeopardy question. If it's ever on Jeopardy, you're going to be able to say, I know that. It's the West Virginia Penitentiary. She beat a guy to death with a glass Coke bottle at a gas station.
Wow.
Right? And they incarcerated her back in the 1940s. And that was when they actually held women as inmates at the prison. They only did that for a few years, but his mother was there. So if you ever go to the West Virginia Penitentiary and you go into their museum, you'll see a handwritten letter from Charles Manson saying that he always considered Moundsville, West Virginia to be his home, and he would really like to be brought back to that prison and be there as an inmate because his mother had been there. And what do you think the warden said to that? Absolutely not. My other books are on folklore, West Virginia, and Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, so I'm really blessed to be able to write about things. This explains why I am the person I am today. Is that maybe why I write books about prisons and asylums? That poor little kid trapped under the end table explains a lot. I remember telling my parents I wasn't going to be a nurse anymore and I was going to be a ghost hunter, and they just looked at me after paying for college. And Dakota were wonderful folks to work with. We filmed at the West Virginia Penitentiary, of course, and I spent about 6 hours with them in the prison cemetery on a hot July day. But they are top-notch. Some of the other people that I've worked with, probably the worst show was Paranormal State. And I hate I hope you're not a fan too much, but there's a lot going on in the background with those folks that, I don't know, I don't like to put people down. I always like to be nice, like Martha Stewart, and say, bless your heart. Just don't believe what you see on TV. Probably the funniest one would have been, I had a close brush with wife swap. I kid you not, in 2005, I got a phone call and they're like, we'd like to feature you on the paranormal episode. It's gonna air on Halloween. You're gonna be the paranormal mother. You get to spend 2 weeks away from your family and your children, and we'll give you $20,000. Sure. sure. And then, as we proceeded along, I'm like, this show is not for me at all. My kids were freaking out. My son was 5. He's like, well, I have to tear down all my Legos. Will my new mom for 2 weeks make me put my toys away? Yeah, so not gonna be good. This one was a fun one. We actually filmed at the Radford Asylum in Radford, Virginia for a pilot for a new show that was called Code Paranormal. So it was me and my little nurse scrubs and an EMT, a paramedic, and a doctor. Nothing ever happened with it, but we had fun that day. So let's get into the program. I could talk for hours about confessions of a ghost hunter. What happens behind the scenes. People throwing up, people panicking, people wetting their pants. That's being on an episode of Ghost Adventures. No, just kidding. I'm just kidding. I would never say that, bless their hearts. I feel like this is stand-up comedy today. It feels like, all right, let's get back into the basics here. I could talk forever. Let's talk about your blood type. Now, you probably wouldn't imagine that your blood type would have much to do with your personality. But basically, it's the structure of who you are and your traits. Now, we're going to get into blood types, but we're also going to get into whether you are negative or whether you are positive, and what is so special about those that are negative. So just out of curiosity, how many of you know your blood type? Because you'd be surprised how many people have no idea. They just know it's red, and it hurts when they get cut. All right, so all blood does the same thing, but not all blood is the same. So the blood types basically classify your blood type so that doctors and nurses, if God forbid you ever need a pint or unit of blood, that they're going to be able to do it, because not all blood is compatible with other blood. Blood transfusions and organ transplants depend upon donors and recipients having compatible blood types. So to make things easy and simple, you have A, B, AB, and O. Of those blood types, you will either have a protein on your blood cell or you do not have the protein on your blood cell. If you have that protein, you are a positive for that extra coating. If you are negative, you do not have that extra protein on there. And there is a theory that those that are Rh negative tend to be more sensitive because they do not have that extra protein cover on their blood cell. Now that is interesting. What to know about blood types? Blood typing is essential. We just covered that. Some types of blood are more common than others, and we will get into that on the next screen. You can have your blood tested for your blood type. Now, I remember doing this in high school. Did anybody have to do that in high school? You pricked your finger and there was a little piece of paper and it was either, A, B, O, and it would also tell you if you were negative or not. And I remember finding out that I was O negative, and my teacher brought me and one other guy out of the class of 28 up to the front of the room and made us stand in front of everybody, and then was talking about how rare our blood type was. He said approximately, now this is back in the late 70s, approximately 10% of the population are negative blood types. And he said, take a look at these two, because they are able to donate to anybody in this room can take their blood. But if you would give them blood, there would be dire circumstances. They are special. And I thought I should have got an A in that class. Damn it. Got a D. I hated science and I hated history. Isn't that weird? Look at me now. O positive and A positive are the most common. O positive people, if you know it, raise up your hand. Wow. A positive people, raise up your hand. All right, how about AB positive? Nobody. One? Look at you. I should make you come up here and then we're just gonna stand and look at you. Because you're cute, you're beautiful, and you're special. You're the only one in this entire room. Now, how many of you are negative and know it? Look around, you're negative. Isn't that interesting how many of us are negative in here? 10% of the population, and there's a bunch of us in here. What'd you say, maybe 30 people out of this group? Maybe 40? I know I'm surrounded by a lot of RH negative people at my table as well. So let's talk a little bit more about this. Population in the world, 42% O plus, A plus 31%. And then you can look at the bottom of the graph, look at that. 3% of the world is O negative.
Oh, I'm 1%, sorry.
Now how many of you in here are O negative? Look at that. That's impressive, don't you think? You're gonna find out why there's so many of us here in just a minute. Or maybe you don't want to know. Call out the vampires. We should have had the Red Cross here taking donations. That just dawned on me. Wouldn't that have been a great event? Yeah, I went to this ghost conference and I'm bleeding. But I donated some blood. That accounts for something. All right, here, let's talk about personalities, because this is really interesting. And I know some of you over here probably cannot see it very well, so I'm going to read it out for you. But Miss AB, put your hand up over here. AB blood type. Yeah, she's nudging you like, put your hand up. All right, out of everybody in this room, let's read about you. Unpredictable, is that true? Sort of? Unpredictable, distant, careful, considerate, efficient, and sensitive. And here I was going to make you stand up in front of a couple hundred people. I am so sorry. Group B, the hunter. Raise your hands up. Okay. Curious, excitable, cheerful, bright, enthusiastic, unpredictable, and independent. I want to be part of that club.
That's pretty much.
You feeling that? Independent? Yep. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right, the farmer group. A's. How many A's? Just to be funny, let's just see. Out of those A's, you're supposed to be like the farmer personality. How many of you actually farm or have a garden? Okay, that's curious. That's curious. Okay. The farmer. Serious, calm, composed, level-headed, and trustworthy. They are also known to carry the bail money for everybody in case they get in trouble. Just saying. It's always good to have an A in the group, especially if you're breaking into a cemetery late at night. I don't know who would do that. Oh, how many O's again? We're the warrior, baby. Look at that. Read that out. Oh, the warrior. Outgoing, expressive, clumsy. I'm on crutches. Flexible, idealistic, natural leader. And I'm curious how many O's are actually like in that position of being the boss or being a leader, or maybe like during a trip, you're the one that people are like, you just get it together, I'll write you the check. You just find, yeah, right? Okay, we organize, we lead, we fall down and hurt ourselves, but we're carefree and we're generous, almost to a fault. A lot of my O friends are so giving, they'll give you the shirt off their back, the last dollar in their pocket. They'll take you out to eat, they'll spend, and they'll tip well, believe it or not. So I thought that was kind of interesting, this personality chart. I want to go out tonight and party with all my warriors, but I want the group that has the bail money to come along too. Some more interesting traits. So this goes into blood types a little bit more with personalities, but it also talks about the positive and the negative traits. So those O's that we were talking about, the warriors, pleasant, sociable, optimistic. Negative traits, vain, dishonest, jealous, and insolent. I want to get a t-shirt with that on it. Type A, positive traits, honest, creative, sensitive, reserved, patient, responsible. Negative is you're finicky. Too eager, you like to please everybody. Stubborn, uptight, and conservative. We're going to keep politics out of this. There's no red and blue when it comes to, well, there is red and blue when it comes to blood. Isn't that interesting? Oh, wow, I'm learning things today. Type B, positive traits, enthusiastic, enterprising, creative, passionate, and strong. Negative traits, you're a little selfish, not looking at anybody in particular. You're a little irresponsible, ruthless, and unpredictable. You live on the edge. Type AB, positive traits, relaxed, calm, rational, sociable. Negative traits are you're critical, indecisive, thoughtless, and irresponsible. It's like reading your horoscope, isn't it? Now we're going to get into something interesting, and probably a lot of you RH negative people that have had babies before, did you have to get the shot?
Yep.
The special shot, the ROGAM shot? All right, so this is the freaky side of RH negative. If you are a human and you are RH negative and you have a child with somebody who is positive, now remember, you're in that low 10% of people. Odds are your husband, your partner, is going to be positive. If you get together and you get pregnant, you have to get a special shot at about week 28, and then typically after the baby arrives, to prevent your blood and the baby's blood from forming antibodies against each other. And you can basically cause that child to be ill, vice versa as well, or even miscarry because of that. No other species on the planet has the ability to actually harm their offspring like that. Now, isn't that a little odd? Why would we be created like that? That we would harm a child that we are trying to give birth to. So that is fascinating. I had to go through that when I was pregnant with my daughter. She's 32 now. She turned out all right. My son is 30. He's okay. But I remember my mom, when she was pregnant in the 60s, she had to wear a special bracelet and a necklace that said that she was RH negative. So you have to be very careful with blood transfusions. Now the weird thing about the negatives, what an interesting theory these are, that we descend from the bloodline of the gods. Everybody else just leave the room, because we're just going to take over the world. The Holy Grail bloodline. These are all theories. Bloodline of the angels, that we descend from the Watchers. It's kind of creepy. I think there needs to be a movie called The Watchers. Is there one?
Yes.
Is there? Does it deal about blood types?
No.
Anything like that at all? Okay, all right. Bloodline of aliens and also blue bloods, because most of the royalty in Europe, guess what? Negative. And they tend to intermarry amongst themselves to keep the bloodline pure. These are all interesting theories. Let's go over some personality traits for people who possess RH negative. And maybe some of these hit home with you. Highly intuitive. Now, isn't it interesting that so many of us were negative in the crowd than what you would have expected? I know so many psychics, guess what? They're negative. They're an empath. Have you heard that term before? People who are empaths or empathetic take on the emotion of people around them. They're like a sponge. If they walk into a room, they can tell when somebody's been arguing. They can walk into a room and be like, I'm getting out of here. This place just doesn't feel good. They absorb the energy from people around them to the point that sometimes even watching violence on TV, they have to turn their head. They can't take it. That's an empath. They are deep thinkers. They think outside the box. They're creative, they're writers, they do art. They might sing, they may be designers. They've got that wonderful creative streak. They're also super curious about space, science, and magic. Wouldn't you love to know the blood type of Troy? I would almost place bets that he would be a negative, and I think I would be disappointed if he was not. Independent. You've got that independent streak to you. You're perceived as different or an outsider. And you have an intense desire to be in nature. You want to camp, you want to hug a tree, you want to go look at the stars, you want to sit in the sun, you want to go to the beach, you want to get your feet in the sand, you want to ground yourself. People may think of you as younger than you actually are. And there's those theories about being descended from the angels, descended from the watchers, descended from, the Holy Grail. Paranormal traits: heightened psychic sensitivity, strong gut feelings about stuff, intuition. And most of us, especially if we're female, we know to go with our gut. And sometimes our partners, our husbands, our spouses, they'll be like, well, what do you think about this? What's your gut tell you? I know often my husband does that with me, with business stuff even. He'll be like, hey, what do you think, I should do this or not? Like I'm a sage or a muse or the oracle or something like that. Precognition. You have this uncanny ability to be talking about somebody and the phone rings. Or you're going to see somebody, or an event is going to happen, or you dream about it. You have that weird sense that, oh my God, yeah, something's going to happen, and it does. Deja vu and vivid dreams. All right, that sense of deja vu, just fancy French words for feelings of being there or experiencing it. For instance, maybe, we talked about, France, going to France and walking the streets of Paris and be like, oh my God, I feel like I've been here before. Or I know that down at the end of the street is a coffee shop. And I didn't look it up on Google Earth. I just have this feeling that there's something down here, that sense that you've been there before. Drawn to the unexplained and the mystical. You have just a true interest in the unusual. And this one I find interesting. RH negative people have strong reactions to other people. Like you know who you like, and you know who you don't want to be around, bless their heart.
Bless their heart.
You're sensitive to electronics. You don't like being around a bunch of wires and crazy things happening around you. Or maybe stuff doesn't work right when you're around it. Watches won't run. You ever heard of people who, they have an issue with wearing a watch and the watch doesn't work right? I've heard some of my O negative and A negative friends who say that when they walk past a light pole, that it'll flicker or it starts to buzz when they're around it. And I thought that's kind of cool. That's never happened to me, but clinical traits. This is fascinating. Lower than normal body temperature. Have you guys noticed those that are negative that you tend to be in the 97s? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. Highly sensitive to sunlight. You don't like being outside with that super bright light, so you got those glasses on. Maybe even wear them inside on occasion if the lights are bright, and you hate fluorescent lights. You hate the glare of it. Typically, if you are a negative blood type, you will have blue, green, hazel, or gray eyes. Isn't that fascinating? You could have an extra tooth or several extra teeth. I remember when I had to get braces, I was doomed. I had glasses and braces and 4 extra teeth in my little mouth that had to be pulled. It was horrible. Possibly an extra vertebrae in the spine. Now, isn't that interesting? That leads into the theory that possibly there could be some reptilian blood in the bloodline. Isn't that a little bizarre? Possibly even an extra rib. Dimples, we'll take that one. Red or reddish hair, especially if you are descendant from the Celtic bloodline, Ireland, Scotland, the UK, or from the Basque region. Now, the Basque region is right where France would meet next to Spain. It's where the Great Pyrenees mountains are located at. And guess what? Rh negative in that area is almost 50% of those people that live there. So many of us that descend from Ireland and Scotland, the Celtic tribes, have the blue eyes, the reddish colored hair, the gray eyes, whatever, and it shows up. It shows up, and that is one of the clinical traits. Now, you think about everybody who is an entertainer, the creativity that you have. Take a look at the list of these people that we know who are negative. Elvis, Princess Diana, Jack Nicholson, Janis Joplin, Marilyn Monroe, Cary Grant, Jim Morrison, Bob Marley, Steve McQueen, Dan Aykroyd, Martin Luther King. Look at this with the Beatles, John Lennon, Ringo Starr, and Paul McCartney, all negatives.
That's Britney Spears.
Cyndi Lauper, Sharon Stone, Meryl Streep, Loretta Lynn, David Letterman, Fidel Castro, Phil Collins, Sheryl Crow, Johnny Depp, Tim Burton, James Cameron. The list goes on and on. Carl Sagan, again, studying space. And then you see all of these brilliant people here, Freddie Mercury, Neil Armstrong. And then we have the darker side, Ted Bundy and Charles Manson. Jimi Hendrix, Susan Sarandon, Al Capone, Queen Mother, Queen Elizabeth II, Prince William, King Charles. And then look at the presidents down there. Since we have been able to type the blood types in the early 1900s, quite a few of our presidents are negative. Carter, Eisenhower, Bush, Ford, Trump, Clinton, Obama, Reagan, Nixon, JFK. How interesting is that? The theory that those of the negative blood type are not of this world, but actually descended from aliens or angels. And I wish that Rosemary was here because she would have a lot to say about this. How did this blood type ever arrive? And I hate to bring the Bible in. I hate to bring Christianity in because I do go to Bible study, I do go to church, but I find it fascinating that if we are descended from Adam and Eve, where does this negative blood type come from? Right? It makes you curious as to how this even appeared in humans. And that has given way to some of these unique theories. The Nephilim. The Nephilim are the result of the Watchers mating with humans. Nephilim means giant. So we assume that they were giant beings, half human, half angel, and they talk about this in the Bible. The Nephilim seem to have started well as mighty men, but things went really bad, and they were eventually cast into the abyss. The term watcher appears only in the book of Daniel in the Bible, but is used extensively in the book of Enoch, a book that was found among the Dead Sea Scrolls. So we mated with giants. Is that a possibility? It's another theory. The giants were not dispelled from the land until Joshua and Caleb finally drove them out. That's Joshua 15:14. Several tribes of these giants are named in the Bible. And remember the story about David and Goliath? The giant comes into play. So the Smithsonian Institute, along with other scientific bodies, have been involved in the study of these large humanoid bones that have been found all over planet Earth. Who were these people? Newspaper articles back in the 19th and early 20th centuries, and even in New York and California, they frequently featured stories about these giant skulls or skeletons that would be found. Where did they come from? Where did they go?
That picture.
It sounds like the opening lines of Cotton Eye Joe, doesn't it? Where did it come from? Where did it go? Where did it come from?
I think I've seen it more though. I don't think I have.
Or descendants of ETs and aliens. Is it even possible that this unique and rare blood type that's less than 10% of the entire world, could there have been aliens that came down from above and they were mating with humans? Stranger things have happened. Because listen, we thought we knew every species in this entire world, and what happens every year? We're finding new animals and fish that we thought died 1 million years ago, and they're still living on. We have discovered so little of this galaxy, of the cosmos, that we have to look at every possibility, as crazy as it sounds, so that we could possibly be a descendant of an ancient visitor. So our age is actually the term for the rhesus factor, the lack of the rhesus monkey factor that fuels the idea that we're a hybrid of something from the past. So what blood type are you? I mean, we looked at that before. So once again, everybody that's negative, hold up your hand, because we know that you're the troublemakers. We know that you're the leaders. You know that you're rare, you're special. Group hug. Love you guys, that's so cool.